how many times do I have to tell you? The bylaws strictly prohibit this fence height.
They're nuts.
I am so done with this harassment. I'll see you in court.
I woke up to find my entire driveway wallpapered with photos of my own house. Cold morning air hit my bare feet. The asphalt smelled wet and sharp. My porch light hummed, throwing this weird yellow glow over page after page, all held down with little rocks. My car headlights flashed when I unlocked it, so the whole mess lit up like a crime scene. On top of the pile was a bright orange note in ugly block letters, "Final warning from HOA." My coffee went cold in my hand while I just stood there, neighbors speaking through blinds like it was a free show. So yeah, HOA posted 63 pages of photos on my driveway, then I filed the title search, and this is how that went. The pages were close-up shots of my trash can wheels, a dandelion, my kid's chalk drawing, even my mailbox with a tiny chip. Every picture had a date and time. They said I owed a $500 fine and that I was one step from a lien. Across the street, Karen, our HOA president, stood in her robe, arms crossed, watching. She smiled like this was Christmas. I called out, "Seriously?" And she just yelled back, "Rules are rules, maybe try reading them." Then she turned and went inside. I tried going through the proper channels first. I emailed the board. No answer. I called the number on the letter. Straight to voicemail. At the next HOA meeting, I showed up with the stack in a grocery bag. They put me at the end of the agenda, after landscaping and pool hours. When I finally spoke, the room went quiet. I pointed out how half the violations were made up. A chalk drawing is not structural damage. Karen looked past me like I was air. The other board members stared at their papers. One neighbor caught my eye, then looked down fast, like he was scared she'd see him. Timeline item 1 April 5th at 4:27 a.m. False trespass call. That was the first time she called the cops on my brother just for dropping off a toolbox. When they brushed me off again, something in me snapped, but in a calm way. I told myself, okay, no yelling, no drama. I will use their own rules. I went home, cleared the dining table, and started digging. I pulled out every letter, every email since I moved in. I lined up photos, emails, and call logs in a binder. I checked city codes on my laptop while my kids did homework beside me. It turned into a little command center of rage and printer ink. I noticed something odd on an old survey in my closing paperwork. The property line looked different from the HOA map Karen had waved around at meetings. That was my line in the sand. If they wanted to play paper war, we were going to the source of all paper, public records. The next morning, I took a personal day and went to the county records office. The building smelled like dust and coffee. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. I asked the clerk for everything on our subdivision and on my lot number. At the county records office, the clerk slid a thick folder to me. The file landed with 63 pages. Old plats, easements, covenants, amendments, even a note about a disputed fence line. I sat at a metal table and read every page. That's when I found it. Years ago, before Karen even moved in, the developer recorded an updated map. The HOA never updated their own records. According to the county, the little strip of land where Karen built her fancy shed and extra parking pad? Not hers. Not HOA common ground. It was part of my lot. She'd been using my land to store her stuff while threatening me with fines. I made copies and went home with my new weapon, the truth in boring legal font. Patterns of false reports can be prosecuted. That line stuck in my head from a website about harassment. I added it to my notes. I set up a neat little timeline of everything she had done. Timeline item 1 April 5th at 4:27 a.m. False trespass call. Timeline item 2 May 3rd at 9:00 p.m. Complaint about my porch light being too warm. Timeline item 3 May 10th at 6:15 p.m. These insane driveway photos. I brought my binder and the title documents to a quick consult with a real estate attorney. He flipped through, whistled low, and said, "You know she's technically encroaching on your property, right?" Then he smiled and said, "If you want to handle this clean, we'll send one letter and copy the HOA, city inspector, and county." The payoff hit at the next HOA meeting. Word must have spread, because more neighbors came than usual. People had their phones out, quietly recording. Karen sat at the front in her blazer like she was running a nation, not a cul-de-sac. Halfway through, there was a knock, and in walked a city code inspector with a clipboard and the same attorney I had met. You could feel the room freeze. The attorney laid my packet on the table in front of the board. He explained, calmly, that the county title search showed my lot extended 3 feet past the line the HOA had been using. That meant Karen's shed, her extra parking pad, and that cute little stone wall? All partly on my land. He also mentioned the pattern of selective enforcement and the stack of petty complaints against me. The inspector handed Karen a notice and said she'd have to bring everything into compliance. The room exploded into whispers. One neighbor near the back actually laughed. Another whispered, "Wait, so she's been breaking her own rules?" Phones were up, recording every word. Someone muttered, "This is going on Facebook tonight." The board members suddenly found their voices. One asked the inspector if the HOA could still issue fines when their map was wrong. Short answer, no. Another asked my attorney if they could be liable for harassment. He didn't say yes, but he didn't say no. Karen went pale. For once, she had nothing to say. By the end of the night, 3 neighbors had stepped up to say she'd targeted them too. In total, she had filed 11 written complaints against 4 households in 3 months. The board voted on the spot to suspend her as president pending review. After that, things changed fast. Karen had 30 days to move her shed and tear up the parking pad off my land. The HOA had to refund me $4,200 in bogus fines and legal fees. They sent a letter to all residents admitting their records were wrong and that they'd be updating everything to match the county. Neighbors started waving again. One brought over cookies and said, "I'm sorry I didn't back you up sooner." Kids played in the street without Karen storming out with a clipboard. I finally sat on my porch one warm evening, smelled someone grilling down the block, and felt actual peace. The only paper on my driveway was chalk art from my kids. And every time I walk past the spot where her shed used to sit, I remember that calm little trip to the county office and smile. Please follow for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.